podcast hosted by your host with the most, Devon Booker, featuring our amazing, talented guest, Lester Wiltfong Jr. Lester, how are you feeling today?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you today?
No complaints, young man. Just enjoying the weather, finally gearing up for football to be back, not to get off
It
course or
feels
anything
like
like.
football outside, right? It feels
Right,
like it out
right.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
not to get off course or anything like that, but tell me why my two starting receivers for my fantasy was Xavier Worthy and AJ Brown. So I have a
Oh
total of
my
1 point.
God.
I have a total of 1 point right now, while my opponent already has 19 points. So I'm like, oh my gosh.
Those early games, as far as everyone's like, who cares about fantasy? But
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
for the millions that play fantasy, those early games suck. It either
yeah,
makes or breaks your whole weekend. Because if like you're like, hey, that's over.
yeah.
You got no chance now. So
Yeah, I need a big day from everyone else, which I doubt I'll have
yeah,
enough because I'm already in a dang near 20 point deficit. So I'm gonna lose this week. I already know it.
yep.
But yeah, so we're here to talk about our Chicago Bears, who are open the season Monday Night Football in Chicago against the Minnesota Vikings. Lester, what do you know about this game, and how high is the ceiling of this game? Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be look when the Bears are on prime. The reason even when the Bears suck, they're on prime time, right? Because
Mhm.
everyone, Chicago is a huge market. Fans, a lot of fans, obviously they love the team, but a lot of fans like rooting against the Bears for whatever reason. They haven't been good in years. I don't know why
Yeah,
it's like they have this villain mentality, but for whatever reason, the Bears equal ratings. Even when they're bad, they're on prime time each time. So yeah, the opening week prime time, Soldier Field's going to be rocking. The Ben Johnson era kicks off. Caleb's out there to silence the haters and the critics,
yes,
right? He has
sir.
his big chance on Monday night. And then, of course, it's the Vikings coming off a big 12-win season last year. That's a very well coached team, very talented team,
Mhm.
and the Bears are an underdog. They're a 1.5 underdog at home, so the odds makers see this as a close game, and I kind of see it as a close game too.
Yes, sir. Now, obviously, the Vikings, they shifted a lot since last season. Obviously, they got some key additions, key departures. Obviously, we know Sam Darnold went to Seattle. JJ McCarthy's going to finally be under the center for his starting role, which he was supposed to do last year, but he got hurt.
Yeah.
I did see when I looked at the report, Justin Jefferson was still questionable. I know that they're without Jordan Addison, their number two. They did bring it back in Adam Thielen. Lester, what has to go in the Vikings' favor if they want to come in Chicago and pick up the W?
Yeah, it's going to be so crazy. Look, week one games are always hard to predict just because it's week one.
Mhm.
The teams don't know really what they have till they get going. Preseason is fine, but you can't really tell what you got as a head coach till the games start going. And look, JJ McCarthy didn't play in preseason. He had I think 7 passes in the entire preseason. He played the first game, he didn't play anything since. So look, I liked him coming out of college. I thought he had a lot of potential, but he still missed his entire rookie season. Yeah, he was in the building. He was learning. He was taking all the mental reps possible. All indications are he had a pretty decent, training camp and off season there. But still, it's essentially a rookie making his first start on the road under the lights. It's a lot of pressure for him.
hmm Now, obviously, a lot of people, even like the media analysis, they're deeming this game as JJ McCarthy versus Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Like, how much does that impact you? Do you think it should even be that scenario?
It's always funny when it's quarterback versus quarterback because they don't play. They're not on the field at the same time, right? So
hmm
it's all a marketing thing. It's because these are the. I mean, if all things work out right, these are the faces of the franchise, right? I mean, you
hmm
want these guys to be the guy, so that's how they're going to kind of push the narrative. And look, it's. I talked about earlier. It's with McCarthy. He's essentially a rookie. Will he be able to come in and do what he needs to do to lead this team to a win? And then with Caleb, coming off, I mean, it was a good year last year. He was fine, but he had a lot of things where he would like to have back, and it didn't go as well as planned. And of course, that the big Tyler Dunn bombshell article just dropped this last couple of days, so now there's even more drama surrounding Caleb. So him, Ben Johnson, the Bears want to go out there and just silence the critics, and you do that with a win. If you get a win, man, this whole drama around the franchise kind of starts to go away.
Yes, sir. Speaking of Caleb Williams, how much pressure is on him to the point where he's looking over his shoulder? Like, are they going to bring in Bajent? Do you feel like he has that pressure at all, Lester, or do you think that's just media controversy, media hype?
Yeah, I mean, there's some in the media that really I'm talking local media, really, really like Bajent and think he should be the guy starting. I mean, look, one guy was drafted first overall. One guy is an undrafted free agent. Bajan, we talked about a lot in the last show. Bajan had a chance, to kind of let this play out and move on once he was a free agent. And he saw what was going on. He was like, look, I'm the number two. I want to get paid to be the number two. And then eventually, yeah, maybe he will want to go take a chance and be the number one. But right now, there is no quarterback controversy. That's just something that some content creators do for clicks because they want people to click and
Of
either
course.
be mad at them or really hype them up.
Of course, of course. How confident are you in Caleb Williams right now? Because obviously the talk around town has been he has not grasped the offense just yet. He's still struggling to go through his reads and his progressions. What do you think about that, Lester? Obviously, we know he has a new offensive line as well too.
Yeah, we heard some of that, in training camp. We heard a little bit about it preseason. Like we talked before, once they finished install in the off season, things clicked a little better. But yeah, there's still the pre-snap penalties are still there in practice. There's still some issues with timing of things, and I mean that's going to happen with a new offense with a guy like Ben Johnson. Man, he's not holding anything back. He's putting everything
Hmm.
on Caleb's plate. But honestly, I'm not concerned about Caleb, and the reason why is because Ben Johnson's in the house. I mean, Ben Johnson's not going to putting everything on his plate in the offseason is one thing.
Hmm.
The week one game plan is going to be exactly what he feels his team can do. And if that means running the ball 40 times, he'll run the ball 40 times.
Hmm.
He's talked about it a lot. One thing he learned from watching Bill Belichick, when he coached as assistant in Miami was how the Patriots would game plan each week differently. Like they had the identity of that team was kind of like we are what we need to be, and that's kind of what he feels the Bears will be. So if Caleb throws it 40 times, if they run the ball 40 times, I don't think it matters. I trust, and I really trust in Ben Johnson as a play caller and a schemer to get the best out of Caleb and the Bears.
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned you touched a little bit on the offense because I was going to say what type of team do you think we will see on offense? Do you think they're going to play the long game and make sure they're opening up the run to open up the pass, or do you think they're going to come out throwing the ball down the field? What do you expect, Lester, in this opening game?
We saw some glimpses in preseason. I mean, this is going to team that's going to want to run the ball, a lot of under center stuff. The play action will be very prevalent. Ben Johnson in Detroit, he was a play action guy. I mean, that's kind of what they were known for. So he will do that when he can. But we also saw in preseason again. Preseason they don't game plan. They don't scheme. They just kind of roll out like Ben Johnson talked about. It. He rolled out the same game plan he's been using in Detroit. They don't scheme up. They don't scout. But even with that dusty old game plan, we saw open receivers. We
Mm,
saw guys schemed open for looks, and it doesn't happen very often in Chicago. So, again, I have complete trust in Ben Johnson getting the best out of this team. So the identity is for the week one. I think they may rely a little bit more on the run. I think he trusts his O line. Um, I think the best way to slow down a pass rush and a blitzing team is running the ball, some quick game stuff. So I think that's kind of what we'll see in this first game.
Do we know what running backs we will have active? Because last time I checked, I thought Roshan was still battling that foot injury, and Kyle Munungai
Roshan,
was it hamstring maybe?
yeah, I think the final report comes out today. It should be at any moment now. But the last I heard was Manungai was back. I'm not sure how much he'll be able to play.
Hmm.
Roshan is probably not going to play. I mean, DeAndre is supposed to be your number one, and that's fine because Ben Johnson had him before. He knows what he can and can't do. And I
Hmm.
think we're going to see DJ Moore. I mean, we saw him last year as a running back a few times, but this training camp, he's been practicing there. Like that's a
Hmm.
thing they have. I'm not sure if it's just a few packages they have for him, or if he's really learning the entire job of a tailback. But I'm cool with it, man. I mean, if DJ Moore can get the ball in his hands any way possible, because he is very good after the catch. So let's
Hmm.
let's let's pitch him out there. Let's run some tosses with him. I don't want to see him running up the gut, but I think the Bears and Ben Johnson are smart enough and they know how to get him in space and to scheme him up for some touches.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get him those manufactured touches.
There it
Now
is.
moving the ball to the defensive side of the ball. Word around town. What have you learned about Jaylon Johnson and his availability going into this Monday Night Football game?
They've been saying all along he's targeting week one to play, so that's how it looks here. Like I said, the report hasn't come out yet. Today it's Saturday.
Hmm.
When that comes out, we'll know more. I'm guessing he'd probably be questionable. which
Mhm.
in NFL coach speak that means who knows, who knows what's going to happen. It's like a 50-50 shot,
Let me
but
ask you this, Lester, not to
yeah,
cut you off. Sorry.
no.
Well, obviously they said that Justin Jefferson was questionable. No Jordan Addison, just Adam Thielen is their main receiver. Let's say they keep Justin Jefferson out. Do you feel that they rush Jaylon Johnson back for that week one matchup dealing with that groin slash hamstring injury, or do you think they let him sit out?
And that's a good question. Yeah, if the Viking report comes out today and Justin Jefferson is not on it, I think yeah, you got to play your guys.
Mm,
But if Justin Jefferson is listed as out, or even like even if it's questionable and it's more like when Kevin O'Connell talks, the Vikings head coach, if he talks like it's more of a game time decision. Plus, these guys can lie, right? I mean,
yeah,
Justin Jefferson could be completely fine, and then the Vikings get up in front of the press. Oh, it's a game time decision. We're not sure. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think the Bears may play it by ear. I think either way, if he's healthy, he'll be active. And
hmm
then you may see him on a pitch count. He may not play the whole game just because they want to make sure they're smart with that.
Of course, of course, of course. Now, obviously, speaking of the defense, what type of defense do you think we will see? Because obviously, we got our players back. Obviously, we got Jaquan Brisker back, Kyler Gordon back. What type of defense do you expect to see out of these guys?
I think eventually it's going to be a pretty good defense. I talk about how much trust I have in Ben Johnson. I feel the kind of the same way with Dennis Allen. He's a good defensive play caller. I mean, he's smart. He knows what he's doing. He understands who he has. I think we may see Kyler Gordon, have a nice big year here. We may see him blitz, a few times. Kind of they scheme things up for him to kind of get through there, which he likes to do. He likes playing close to the line. He likes tackling. He's a physical player, so I think that might be something we see. We may also see Jaquan Brisker kind of move up if he's healthy and good to go. We saw him as a rookie get, I think, 4 or 5 sacks, right? So
Hmm
that's something he likes to do as well. He's a physical player, so you may see Dennis Allen kind of move his guys around, scheme up some rush lanes for some blitzers.
hmm
They did announce today that it looks very unlikely that TJ Edwards will play. He's
What?
yeah he's got that injury, so he may not play. So Ruben Hippolyte, the rookie's going to see some action.
Over
Um,
Sewell?
Sewell's going to probably start in there for him, but you need a third guy, and I think it maybe Hippolyte getting some run there. So
Wow.
look, they'll be a nickel most of the game,
hmm
and they may even do more dime if they like the matchup better. It all depends what Minnesota does. Like I said, Minnesota's down some receivers. So if they're not running 3-4 receiver sets, you may see the Bears stick to the base a little more often. But regardless, you're going to see probably a lot of Kyler Gordon. Obviously, Tremaine Edmonds is healthy, good to go.
hmm
And whether it's Noah Sewell getting a ton of run at the weak side linebacker or not, I think the Bears have options there with some other defensive backs.
Yeah. How worried are you about the play from our edge, though? Obviously, outside of Montez Sweat, what do we really have out there?
I mean, yeah. I mean, what do they have out there? It's Montez. It's they paid
Aya
Dale
Badego, however you pronounce it.
Odengbo a ton of money
Yeah.
to be that other guy, and I think he'll be fine. I think he's okay against the run. He's just never shown a huge juice to get after the quarterback. He had one decent year in the Colts where I think he had like 7 sacks a season, but
hmm
he's just never really been that guy. And I think that year most of his damage came working from defensive tackle. So look, he knows he's an edge this year. I know he'll get moved around quite a bit. I'm sure he's been working hard on his pass rush repertoire, and then hopefully he's able to kind of show something. But I mean, until I see him on the field, I don't have a lot of faith in him. But Montez Sweat's a good football player.
hmm
I think Montez Sweat is really motivated to bounce back. He had a bad year last year. He talked about he had some lingering injuries that kind of affected his play the whole season. I think at one point there may have been high ankle sprain, which is always tough to come back from, and I don't think he really missed much time. So he kind
hmm
of played through some stuff. He's motivated. He wants to get out there and kind of prove who he is as a player. So again, I talk about scheming up some looks. I think that may happen. I think you may use a guy like big Andrew Billings, occupy some blockers, run some twists, get Gervon Dexter some free rushing lanes. There's some talent. They just got to see how Dennis Allen puts them together.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, obviously, we like to close out the show going over our predictions, Lester. How do you expect this game to turn out after hearing you say week one matchups are usually tricky because obviously week one, everyone's still trying to get their feet wet and find that balance. What do you see this game being? A high scoring game, low scoring game? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it'll be a low scoring game. Maybe something like 20, 21-17, something like that. I think the Bears can win. I
Yes.
think that's I think it's I think look, this team last year was bad, but they were not a 5-win team. I've said it countless times. Matt Eberflus cost this team at least 3 wins last
Hmm.
season, maybe more. Just the whole thing kind of was tanked after that Hail Mary. A lot of problems. There was some locker room issues that kind of came to light last year, and now they're coming to light again this year. You know, look, I never believed in Flus. I wanted them gone 2 seasons ago. Hindsight says they definitely should have done it, but look, Ben Johnson's in the house. He's just such a good offensive mind, and we'll see week one how he is as a head coach. But I just can't see him not succeeding. He's just too smart of a dude. He's got that intensity when you hear him talk. You see what he does out there. You're at practices to kind of see how he works with his players. He just everything you want in a head coach. He is it. So I think that this team has a good chance to win week one. It's going to be close,
Now,
but I think they have a good chance to win.
now, if you had to pick one player from each side of the ball that's gonna push the Bears to that win tomorrow, Monday, excuse me, who do
Yeah.
you think that will be from both sides of the ball that's gonna make sure they get the W?
One of our guys earlier this week wrote an article. He's got a new series starting off on Winning City Gridiron, one-on-one matchups that he's keying on, and he talks about Jervon Dexter versus Will Fries. That's the big free agent pickup for the Vikings. Dexter kind of had a nice year last year. When the Bears lost Billings and he was asked to do a little too much, his productivity dropped. But
Hmm.
I think the push from Jervon Dexter up front, you want to rattle a young quarterback, you get pressure up front,
Hmm.
right in his face. That's where you want pressure from. They can usually handle stuff off the edge. We saw Caleb last year do pretty good with blitzes off the edge. You want to rattle J.J. McCarthy, get some pressure up the gut. So I think if Jervon Dexter has a nice big game with a big push, I mean he's 6'6", get those big hands up. I think that'll really help the Bears win.
Yes, sir. Now, offensive side of the ball, who you think needs to be there and be active to win?
I think it's the trenches. I'm gonna go all five of those guys up front. Braxton Jones, of course, got to really show that he's rounding into shape because he looked pretty bad in the preseason. But that was a couple weeks ago. So like a pro athlete can change themselves in a couple weeks. It's rehab. It's getting strength back in that leg. But if the O line is able to keep some pressure off of Caleb, and more importantly, open up running lanes for DeAndre Swift. Look, Swift is a talented runner, right? He is
Hmm.
fast. You get him a crease, he can pop a big run. We saw it happen last year after a horrendous start with Swift. I think he averaged like 1.2 yards a carry in his first few weeks, but after
Hmm.
that, he was pretty good. He was good with Ben in Detroit. He averaged, I think, 5.8 yards a carry. So I think if the O line and running game gets going, I think the Bears going to win this one.
Of course. Now, as we get ready to close out, I'll just ask one last question. How good can this offensive line be if they play together, gel well? What do you see them being, Lester?
I mean, if all things come together, this is a top 10 unit. I mean, if you have Darnell Wright at the right tackle spot, who I've always been high on, I think is a very good right tackle.
Hmm.
Jonah Jackson, look, when he was in Detroit, he was a Pro Bowler. He had a rough year in LA. That's what fans think of. Oh, he stinks because of that year. But that was just a weird season. The Rams paid him a ton of money. He came in, ask him to change positions. Then he gets hurt and he comes back. It just still wasn't a good fit for him there. I think he's in a good place now. Drew Dahlman at center. He's been on the cusp of a Pro Bowl for a couple of years now. I think he's a huge upgrade. And then, of course, come on, Joe Tooney. When's the last
Yes.
time the Bears had an all pro on the offensive line? Again, Braxton Jones. If you have one guy that you have to scheme around as a play caller, you can handle that. So if
Yes,
those
sir.
other four guys are solid, which I think they will be, I think Ben Johnson will be smart enough to know when to give Braxton Jones help, when to run away from him, and when he can just rely on it when he has to. So I think the O line, man, it could be a top 10 unit if everything gels like it should be, even with
Le-
Braxton Jones possibly being a weak link.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first from Lester Wiltfong Jr., who's never been wrong in his whole
Oh, never.
tenure of reporting on the Bears football. Lester, seriously, we greatly appreciate you having some time for Barely Watch, young man. You stay tuned and we'll see you Monday. We'll talk to you Monday.
Fun stuff, my friend. We'll talk.
Yes, sir. Oop, how do I finish? There we go.